In the grand tapestry of history, few figures stand as tall as Alexander the Great. His name evokes images of legendary conquests, epic battles, and the forging of an empire that stretched from Greece to the farthest reaches of the known world. But Alexander's story is much more than just a tale of military might. It is a complex narrative of ambition, vision, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Our journey into Alexander's life begins not at the start, but in the midst of his greatest challenge, the Battle of Gaugamela. It was October 1st, 331 BC, and the fate of the Persian Empire hung in the balance. On one side stood Alexander, the young Macedonian king whose ambitions knew no bounds. On the other, Darius III, the Persian king, with an army that far outnumbered Alexander's forces. This was the clash of two titans, and the outcome would reshape the ancient world. The battlefield at Gaugamela was vast, and the stakes were monumental. Darius had chosen this location to use his superior numbers to full advantage, preparing the ground for his war chariots and assembling an army that dwarfed Alexander's. But Alexander was no ordinary commander. He was a military genius who had been forged in the fires of battle, from the hills of Macedonia to the deserts of Egypt. As the battle commenced, Alexander led a daring cavalry charge that pierced through the Persian lines, directly targeting Darius. The Persian king, sensing the danger, fled the battlefield, leaving his army in disarray. The victory at Gaugamela was not just a triumph of strategy. It was the moment that sealed Alexander's legacy as one of history's greatest conquerors. But to truly understand the man behind this legend, we must go back to the beginning, to the world in which Alexander was born and the forces that shaped his extraordinary life. Alexander was born in 356 BC in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, located in the northern part of Greece. His father, King Philip II, was a formidable warrior and statesman who transformed Macedonia from a peripheral state into a dominant power in the Greek world. Philip's military innovations, including the creation of the Macedonian phalanx, set the stage for his son's future conquests. Alexander's mother, Queen Olympias, was a fiercely ambitious woman who claimed descent from the gods. She instilled in Alexander a sense of divine destiny, telling him that he was descended from Achilles and Hercules, the greatest heroes of Greek mythology. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for greatness. He was tutored by Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of the ancient world. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander developed a love for knowledge, learning about philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. This education would later influence his approach to leadership and governance, as he sought to merge Greek and Eastern cultures in his empire. At the age of 16, Alexander was already demonstrating his potential as a leader. When King Philip went to war, he left Alexander in charge of Macedonia as regent. During this time, a Thracian tribe revolted, and Alexander quickly mobilized an army to crush the rebellion, founding the city of Alexandropolis in the process. His early success in battle earned him a reputation as a capable and fearless commander. However, Alexander's rise to power was not without its challenges. In 336 BC, King Philip II was assassinated under mysterious circumstances, possibly involving Olympias. Alexander, just 20 years old, ascended to the throne. His youth and the suddenness of his rise led to unrest and rebellion among the Greek city-states, who saw an opportunity to regain their independence. But Alexander moved swiftly and decisively. He marched south, defeating the rebels and reaffirming Macedonian dominance over Greece. This was just the beginning of his extraordinary journey. With Greece under his control, Alexander turned his attention to the Persian Empire, the greatest superpower of the ancient world. His father, Philip, had long dreamed of conquering Persia, and Alexander was determined to fulfill that dream. In 334 BC, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor with an army of 35,000 men, marking the beginning of one of the most remarkable military campaigns in history. Alexander's first major battle against the Persians took place at the Granicus River. The Persian satraps had assembled a large force to stop him, but Alexander was undeterred. He led a bold cavalry charge across the river, catching the Persians off guard. The battle was fierce, and Alexander narrowly escaped death when a Persian nobleman nearly struck him down. But his forces prevailed, and the victory at Granicus opened the gates to Asia Minor. City after city fell to Alexander as he marched through the region, liberating Greek cities from Persian control and earning their loyalty. As Alexander pushed deeper into Persian territory, he faced new challenges. The siege of Halicarnassus was one such challenge, where the Persians mounted a strong defense behind formidable walls. But Alexander's determination and military ingenuity led to another victory, further solidifying his reputation as an unstoppable force. By the time he reached the city of Gordium, Alexander was already being hailed as a god by some of his followers. It was here that he encountered the famous Gordian knot, a complex knot tied by an ancient king with a prophecy that whoever could untie it would rule all of Asia. According to legend, Alexander, unable to untie the knot, simply sliced through it with his sword, declaring that it didn't matter how the knot was undone. This bold act symbolized his approach to problems: direct, decisive, and unyielding. In 333 BC, Alexander faced one of his greatest challenges yet, the Battle of Issus. Here, he met Darius III for the first time. Darius had assembled a massive army, far outnumbering Alexander's forces. But the narrow battlefield at Issus played to Alexander's advantage. He led his troops in a direct assault on Darius's position, forcing the Persian king to flee in panic, abandoning his family and treasures. The victory at Issus was a turning point. It shattered the myth of Persian invincibility and boosted Alexander's confidence as he prepared to take on the heart of the Persian Empire. Following his triumph at Issus, Alexander marched south into Syria and Phoenicia, capturing key cities and securing his supply lines. One of the most remarkable episodes of this campaign was the Siege of Tyre. The city of Tyre was an island fortress with powerful naval defenses, making it seem impregnable. But Alexander was not deterred. He ordered the construction of a causeway to connect the island to the mainland, allowing his troops to breach the city walls. After 7 months of relentless effort, Tyre fell to Alexander's forces. The victory at Tyre was not just a military success. It was a demonstration of Alexander's ability to overcome even the most daunting obstacles. With the coastal cities under his control, Alexander turned his attention to Egypt. The Egyptians, who had been under Persian rule for centuries, welcomed Alexander as a liberator. In 332 BC, he entered Egypt without a fight and was declared pharaoh. During his time in Egypt, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest centers of learning and culture in the ancient world. He also visited the Oracle of Siwa in the Libyan desert, where he was proclaimed the son of Zeus. This declaration reinforced his belief in his divine mission and further solidified his authority. After securing Egypt, Alexander prepared for his final confrontation with Darius III. The two armies met again at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC. This was to be the decisive battle for control of the Persian Empire. Darius had chosen the battlefield carefully, leveling the ground to maximize the effectiveness of his war chariots and deploying a massive army that outnumbered Alexander's by a wide margin. But once again, Alexander's tactical brilliance turned the tide of battle. He led a daring cavalry charge that pierced through the Persian lines, creating a gap that allowed his forces to strike at Darius directly. The Persian king fled the battlefield, and with his defeat, the Persian Empire crumbled. Alexander entered the Persian capitals of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, taking control of the vast wealth and resources of the empire. But Alexander's ambition did not end with the conquest of Persia. He was determined to push further east, to the very edges of the known world. In 330 BC, he embarked on a campaign to subdue the eastern provinces of the Persian Empire, including Bactria and Sogdia. These regions were rugged and difficult to control, with fierce resistance from local tribes. Alexander's campaign in these areas was marked by brutal warfare and a series of grueling sieges. He married Roxana, a Bactrian princess, in an effort to secure his control over the region and to integrate the local nobility into his empire. In 327 BC, Alexander set his sights on India, a land of immense wealth and mystery. He crossed the Hindu Kush and entered the Indian subcontinent, where he encountered one of his most formidable opponents, King Porus of the Paurava kingdom. The Battle of the Hydaspes, fought in 326 BC, was one of the most challenging battles of Alexander's career. Porus's army included war elephants, which posed a significant threat to Alexander's cavalry. The battle was intense, with heavy casualties on both sides. But Alexander's tactical ingenuity and determination prevailed, and he emerged victorious. Impressed by Porus's courage and leadership, Alexander allowed him to retain his kingdom, and even granted him additional territory. This act of magnanimity was in keeping with Alexander's broader strategy of incorporating local rulers and cultures into his empire, rather than simply destroying them. Following his victory at the Hydaspes, Alexander's troops were weary after years of continuous campaigning. The harsh conditions, unfamiliar terrain, and the prospect of even more battles in the distant reaches of India led to growing discontent among his soldiers. At the Fasrauvaus, the easternmost point of his campaign, his army finally refused to march further. Faced with the possibility of mutiny, Alexander reluctantly agreed to turn back, marking the end of his quest to reach the eastern edge of the known world. The return journey to Babylon was arduous and costly. Alexander led his troops through the Gedrosian desert, a decision that proved disastrous. The harsh conditions, including extreme heat, lack of water, and difficult terrain, took a severe toll on the army. Many soldiers perished during the march, and the experience left a deep mark on those who survived. Upon returning to Babylon, Alexander faced the immense challenge of governing his vast empire. He was no longer just a conqueror. He was now the ruler of a multicultural empire that spanned 3 continents. Alexander sought to integrate the diverse peoples of his empire through policies of cultural fusion. He encouraged marriages between his soldiers and local women, adopted elements of Persian dress and customs, and even trained young Persians in the ways of Greek military tactics. His vision was to create a new, unified culture that blended Greek and Eastern traditions, a concept that would later be known as Hellenism. However, the pressures of ruling such a vast and diverse empire began to take a toll on Alexander. His health started to decline, and his behavior became increasingly erratic. The death of Hephaestion, his closest friend and confidant, in 324 BC, devastated Alexander. Hephaestion's death was a blow from which Alexander struggled to recover. He ordered elaborate funeral rites for Hephaestion, and his grief was so profound that it led some to question his ability to continue leading. Despite his personal struggles, Alexander remained committed to his grand vision. He embarked on ambitious projects to build cities, roads, and infrastructure throughout his empire. These projects were part of his larger goal to leave a lasting legacy and to ensure that his empire would endure long after his death. He also continued to plan new military campaigns, including a potential invasion of Arabia, but these plans would never come to fruition. In June 323 BC, Alexander fell gravely ill in Babylon. The exact cause of his illness remains a mystery, with theories ranging from poisoning to natural causes such as malaria or typhoid fever. Over the course of several days, his condition worsened, and he was eventually confined to his bed. As he lay dying, his generals gathered around him, desperate to know his plans for the future of the empire. When asked who should succeed him, Alexander reportedly responded, to the strongest. This ambiguous statement left his empire in a state of uncertainty and set the stage for the power struggles that would follow his death. On June 10th or 11th, 323 BC, Alexander the Great passed away at the age of 32. His death marked the end of an era and the beginning of a tumultuous period known as the Wars of the Diadochi, during which his generals fought for control of different parts of his empire. The once unified empire was eventually divided into several successor states, the most prominent of which were the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Asia, and the Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia. Despite the fragmentation of his empire, Alexander's impact on history was profound and enduring. His conquests spread Greek culture across a vast area, leading to the Hellenistic era, a period characterized by the blending of Greek and Eastern cultures. This cultural fusion resulted in significant advancements in art, science, and philosophy, with cities like Alexandria in Egypt becoming centers of learning and innovation. Alexander's military tactics and strategies have been studied and admired by military leaders throughout history. His ability to inspire and lead his men, his boldness in battle, and his strategic vision have made him a model for commanders from antiquity to the modern era. Figures such as Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, and even modern military leaders have looked to Alexander as an exemplar of military genius. Alexander's legacy also includes the many cities he founded, which became hubs of culture and commerce in the ancient world. The most famous of these, Alexandria in Egypt, became home to the Great Library of Alexandria, one of the most important centers of learning in antiquity. Through these cities and the spread of Hellenistic culture, Alexander's influence continued to shape the ancient world long after his death. But Alexander's story is not just one of conquest and empire building. It is also a story of a man driven by an insatiable desire for glory and immortality. His ambition knew no bounds, and his vision of a unified world under his rule was both extraordinary and ultimately unattainable. The very qualities that made Alexander a great conqueror, his relentless drive, his visionary leadership, and his willingness to take risks, were also the qualities that led to the eventual unraveling of his empire. As we reflect on Alexander the Great's life, we are left with a complex legacy. He was a man of extraordinary achievements, whose conquests reshaped the ancient world and whose vision inspired generations to come. Yet he was also a man whose ambitions led to the destruction of the very empire he sought to build. Alexander's story is a reminder of the power of human ambition and the limits of that power when confronted with the realities of life and death. In the end, Alexander the Great remains a towering figure in history, a symbol of the heights that can be achieved through vision, determination, and the will to overcome the impossible. His life, filled with triumphs and tragedies, continues to captivate and inspire, a testament to the enduring allure of one of history's greatest legends. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the life of Alexander the Great. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about history's most fascinating figures, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue bringing these epic stories to life. See you in the next adventure.